Good morning, it's July 19th, and this is To My Little Friends. I did not lose the 2020 election. In fact, I won it by a lot. And this has been the mantra of Donald Trump for the past 2.5 years. In November of 2020, he refused to acknowledge that he lost. He and his core group tried everything to overturn the election. He invited his supporters to come to Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021. This is the day that Congress would officially count the electoral votes and declare Joe Biden the winner. Trump gathered thousands of his supporters on the Washington Mall that day. He gave a raucous speech. I've read that speech multiple times, trying to fully ascertain what he intended those supporters to do. Here's the one phrase in that speech that stands out. He said, quote, "We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore," end quote. These are the words designed to arouse the crowd. It was preparatory to him urging them to move towards the Capitol. In my opinion, he was asking them to march on Congress and to do something that would prevent Congress from counting those votes. Why else would they be in Washington for a candidate by every reasonable account had lost the election in November? Now Trump and his team of lawyers point to another phrase in the speech. Quote, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voice heard," end quote. But that was only after telling them they had to fight like hell. And looking at the crowd, he knew there were many in that mob that would take it to the extreme. But let's look at some other parts of his speech. Quote, "All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. If it doesn't happen, you don't concede when there's theft involved," end quote. He's telling this crowd that the election was stolen from him, and they had to do something about it. This is the man that called election officials around the nation demanding that they not certify the electoral votes and instead substitute electors that would vote for him. He then went for the jugular in inflaming the crowd. Quote, "Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore, and that's what this is all about. And to use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal. Today, I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This is not a close election," end quote. The crowd then began to chant, "Fight for Trump, fight for Trump." And Trump continues to rev them up. Quote, "Nobody knows what the hell is going on. There's never been anything like this. We're not going to let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let it happen," end quote. Trump then spent several minutes demanding that Mike Pence stop the vote counting at the Capitol. This would, of course, be counter to every constitutional rule, but that would not matter to Donald Trump. He had to be declared the winner. In his mind, there was nothing too vile to do to achieve his own egotistical mind wanted. Donald Trump has been indicted for crimes, and it soon will be indicted for the third time. He has no respect for the rule of law and seems to believe that he is above the law. There's no doubt in my mind that he incited people at that rally on January 6, 2021 to do exactly what they did. And should he be reelected to the presidency in 2024, he will not only pardon himself of any crimes he has committed, but he will pardon those people who willfully entered the Capitol illegally. Who committed damage within the Capitol is a criminal act, but he will pardon them because they did his bidding. And it is for this reason he's petitioning the judge to have any charges and trials delayed until after the 2024 election. He's banking on winning and issuing all those pardons. Well, in that speech, Trump made many claims that were intended to rile up his faithful supporters, but the facts don't bear him out. If we look at Michigan as an example, where according to Trump there was massive vote fraud, so here are the real numbers. Trump claimed in Michigan's Zeeland Charter Township that voter turnout was 460%, but the actual count showed that the 4 precincts in that township voted at 74%, 89%, 80%, and 85%. Not even close to 400%. Over in Spring Lake Township, the Trump claimed that 120% of the voters voted. In reality, the 6 precincts had turnout rates of 72%, 82%, 77%, 81%, 84%, and 66%. In Detroit, where he claimed the most fraud occurred, only about 50% of the registered voters turned out. Overall, in Michigan, the voter turnout was 69.5%. Not exactly what Trump's been claiming. These facts were also corroborated in the other states that Trump claimed were fraudulently counted. I suspect in his mind he truly believes he was cheated because when you say it enough times, you convince yourself that it's true. The real truth is that Donald Trump just does not get it. In 2016, he won because people rejected Hillary Clinton. Her negatives were so high that people voted for anyone that was not her. But in 2020, the reverse was true. Donald Trump entered the election with very high negatives, and just as people voted against Clinton 4 years earlier in that election, they voted against Trump more than they voted for Biden. And that's the sad state of our electoral process, where once again we are faced with the real possibility of having two aging candidates that nobody really wants to support. The option out there is a third candidate, and it's being talked a lot about, and I'll talk about what that means for both parties tomorrow. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, hit the subscribe button or recommend it to your friends. And if you have a comment, I'd like to hear from you. Thank you.